question that we always ask ourselves is, if we're going to do this, is this going to benefit a business owner? Is this going to be meaningful to them or not? And if it's not worth our time.
Wait. Are you alluding to the fact that you can do all presidents, top to bottom, start to finish?
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson.
So here we are, Mr. Tim Ryan, on a day where we're both wearing black T-shirts. Imagine that. Having a discussion around the Fervent Four. Delighted, excited, thrilled. I just realized that trophy is still there. I thought that was gonna find a new home.
I just met up with the recipient of that trophy, and he is not in any hurry to get it back. So now is just kind of the backdrop. Yeah.
So, okay, because I'm pretty sure Gary Warren, I saw had a comment that said he wanted his trophy back. So is he just providing?
I think that was
information on the internet.
It did come up in our conversation. Yes.
I saw him at the State of the trophy did.
Yeah. That's why I say no. I'm in no rush. You can keep that as long as you wish.
I saw him at the State of Innovation, and as soon as this one clip for half a second popped up on the screen, I could see his face. He was like,
also came up in conversation. I was like, yes, we talked about it as well. And Zach and I both laughed that as soon as you saw that you would have exactly that same reaction that you did.
I mean, it is a piece in time that has to be there.
That's right.
Sorry. He didn't want it originally, so it is what it is. But we are all right. Transition off of Gary Warren and the championship belt to a now two-time guest, someone who, what do they say, in your bingo card? I would not have chosen this person in the bingo card, but you know what? He is a man around town. He posts. It seems like every day he's at a different big event in town. Doesn't neglect any city. I mean, it could be Portsmouth. It could be Norfolk. It could be Virginia Beach. It could be the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. It could be Newport News. It could be Hampton.
Yeah.
Hampton. Heck, it could be Williamsburg. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in there it was Suffolk. I mean, it's just it's wild. The man would love to see this guy's per diem and gas mileage. Get just the amount of miles he puts on his vehicle. Ladies and gentlemen, Gene Granger, InQ Hub of InQ Hub Lore. Gene, welcome back.
Director. Yeah.
The MD.
Thanks.
Of the IH.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Tim. It's great to be back with you guys again.
It's been a couple of years. We have a lot to catch up on.
It has. I think we do. I think the last time I joined you guys, it was just before we got ready to open the Hampton InQ Hub, which opened in January 2024. That location has grown tremendously since then. So I wanted to come back on with you guys. One, because I like seeing both of your faces, but two, because we have some more exciting news with InQ Hub that we'll get to talk about during our conversation.
Wow.
I mean, I think it would be a bad thing, Tim, if we don't talk about our good-looking faces.
Yeah. I'm gonna crack open a can quickly. Can I do that?
It's 2/7. I just blew a time we're recording this. Oh Lord. Okay.
It is 7:50, 8:01.
How in the world are you? You know, that's a 50 milligram caffeine.
Is it? Well, it's too late now, but shout out to Crunchy.
I have one too.
Mm.
Did you, Gene, at the State of Innovation have a Crunchy? If so, was it the white one or the
I did. It was actually the first time I had ever tried their product. I believe it was the mango one, and it was, I will say, it was delicious. It was delicious. It was very refreshing, and I knew it had caffeine in it, but I didn't feel, after I drank it, I didn't feel kind of overly caffeinated. You know, like sometimes when you have too many cups of coffee, you're like, I felt very good. I felt awake and alert, but it wasn't like it was too much. So big fan. I definitely enjoyed it and would recommend it.
Yeah. Shout out to Megan.
Megan Riggs, shout out, yes.
It has become quite, you should consider adding that. Do you provide beverages to your InQ Hub tenants?
So right now we have vending machines in all of our locations, and it's kind of a cool story. Our vending machine company was actually started by a young lady named Jasmine Bowen, who at the time was a student at Nansemond River High School in Suffolk. And I think she had a school project or something to come up with a business idea. And so she came up with an idea to start her own vending machine company. And instead of just being a class project that she turned in, she actually turned it into a real business. Had a little help from her parents. So now she has vending machines in both of our locations as well as in other locations across the region. Jasmine's now a freshman at Hampton University and is doing great. But we could definitely talk to her about adding the wonderful crunchy hydration beverages to our machines. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, they've just they've become kind of like the founder beverage, it seems, across our ecosystem.
Yeah.
I mean, after we had a couple loose cans that were left over after the State of Innovation, I brought them back to Reactor, and I set them out just as a little test. I had a couple cans of Pepsi, a couple cans of Diet Pepsi, a couple cans of Sprite, and then a few cans of Crunchy, and those Crunchies were gone within minutes. And the other beverages, they still stand. But shout out to Crunchy for giving the founders the caffeine, the stress relief, and the goods that they need to keep hustling.
Yeah, I have to say, Tim, I mean, having loose cans in a reactor sounds kind of dangerous. But no, I agree. I think I highly enjoyed the one that I had, and I think they came out with a great product. I think they're definitely onto something with it.
You got it. We'll get to the whole growth of IncuHub, and it's quite interesting. An article about IncuHub that had at least Marco quoted, if not you as well, in late December of 25, just kind of seeing the growth and all of the stuff around. It's quite interesting. But you're someone who, as the MD of the IncuHub, one of your strategies is to go out and to be a man amongst the town, if you will, to be out, to be seen, to have a presence, to have an IncuHub presence. Can you just go over what kind of that strategy looks like, how you maximize it? Because I think a lot of people are interested in going to different events and being out there and being seen. But oftentimes I find they do it in an incorrect way and they find it wasteful. And obviously it seems like it's something that's been positive for you guys. What's working well for you, and how do you go into it to make sure that you're getting your best bang for your buck?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. So, as you guys know, as well, at IncuHub, we're all about community. And community, of course, starts within our walls with our community of business owners, with our members who are part of the IncuHub family. And we're really deliberate, and we really prioritize forming a really strong sense of community. It's not just something we say, it's actually something we do. So connecting our business owners with each other, giving them the opportunity to get to know each other, tap into each other's areas of expertise. But of course, community extends beyond our walls as well. And we found that by putting ourselves out into our greater Hampton Roads community, whether that be within our local cities of Portsmouth or Hampton or Newport News, but also even in the broader region in Norfolk, like you said, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, Chesapeake, we find that does a couple of things. One, it's a great way to expose people to our business. Although we're growing and we're growing quickly, at the end of the day, we're still a small business, right? And we don't have a huge marketing and advertising budget to put ads on television and radio and all these other things. So we found that just getting out there, going to events, getting to know people, whether they be business leaders, government leaders, community leaders, or other stakeholders, is a really great way to spread the word that we exist, that we provide a great service to the entrepreneurial community in Hampton Roads. People kind of learn about what we do. And we have found that our most effective referrals really come from word of mouth, right? And how do people know about us? They know about us because we show up. We show up at events that are hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. We go to city events, things that the city governments are doing, other local organizations, local foundations, nonprofits, the great things that you guys are doing with Innovate Hampton Roads and the Reactor. We love to be a part of that. So just getting the word about the business, advertising the business, letting people know we're there and that we're great people, we do a great job. It's really a great way to market ourselves with really spending very little money. The other benefit that it has is it really is a benefit to our member businesses because we're able to go out and build connections with stakeholders, leaders in the community who can then be of benefit to our businesses. And that comes in many forms. But, for example, we've built great relationships with the government leaders in our cities, with our mayors, with our city council members, with our commissioners of the revenue. So when our businesses, possibly have an issue with a city ordinance or permit issue or whatever, we know who to talk to, and we can say, hey, you can call so-and-so, they'll be happy to help you out. Or we can even kind of go to bat for them and say, hey, one of our members is having this issue. Can you kind of point us in the right direction, right? But we also find that getting to know leaders in the business community is a huge benefit to our businesses. One of the first things that when we talk to people, especially in the business community, one of the first things they ask is, well, what do your businesses at the InQ Hub do? And in that conversation, oftentimes they want to know more, and then they want to know more about the individual businesses. And then they realize that, hey, I could maybe use this business with an initiative or a project that I'm working on. This might be the perfect business for me to hire. So it's a great way to connect our businesses with opportunities and resources in the region that can really help them grow their business and be the best they can be. And that's, at the end of the day, really what we're all about.
Dramatic pause.
Because we can.
Yep.
You would think that after 7 years of this, Tim, you would understand.
I'm just to the point where I'm just,
April Fools.
if the Jets want to fly over, I'm going to share with y'all. We can celebrate freedom together.
Absolutely.
It is crazy how low those suckers fly. It is terrifying. Like, I was driving by. I was in the boondocks of the beach of Virginia recently. And those suckers, it was tree line, and it was pretty damn close to that tree line. I was like, okay. Like they say, sound of freedom, but damn, don't clip a tree.
Yeah. So I had to hit the mute button. That was well said, Gene. Appreciate. I'm with you. Are you an equal opportunity attender, or is no event too big, no event too small? You just show up. How do you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the things that we look at when we go to events is, how is this going to benefit the business? How is this going to benefit our members? So certainly there are things that it may not make sense for us to show up at, right? But at the end of the day, there's really no event too small for us to go to. If there's going to be a benefit to us being there, if there's going to be even one person there who we might meet who might either benefit the InQ Hub or benefit our member businesses or just be a great person to know, then it's totally worth our time going. We love people too, right? And this region is full of so many wonderful people who are great at what they do, right? They're at the top of their field, but they also really care about their community and their region and their neighbors. And we love getting to know people and talking to people like that. The fact that it has an added value for the business is even better, right? But just getting to know people and build those relationships is really a lot of fun. And we hear everyone talks all the time about how, Hampton Roads, we have these 7 cities, and while we're one big region, in many ways, it feels like all the different cities kind of are in their little silo and do their own thing. And we feel that it's important to really be present in all of the region, because at the end of the day, what happens in Portsmouth can affect what's going on in Newport News. What happens in Hampton can affect what's happening in Chesapeake, right? So it's important that, we all work together and try to build those relationships across our city lines. And I know this is hard for some people to wrap their heads around, but even across the water, across the tunnels, right? People on the south side, they say, oh, we don't want to go to the peninsula. And I hear that on the peninsula about the south side. And we try to be all over as much as we can, because there's real value in having that interconnectedness in our region as much as possible.
Is I remember, when did the first InQ Hub open? The Portsmouth version.
So the first InQ Hub opened in Portsmouth, and that was in June of 2019.
Okay, that late, June of 2019, really? Wow.
June of 2019. Yep,
I
and
would
it
have
was
thought it was
open
like
in a much
17 or
smaller
18.
footprint than it
Yeah,
has today.
I would have thought it was earlier as well.
No, it was.
Okay.
It, I think it feels like to a lot of people that we've been here forever, but yeah, it was 2019.
Well, I guess I wouldn't have thought it was 6 months later the world closed down, but I mean that's what's shocking to me, I guess. But okay, so in June of 2019, you guys are there. The big pitch from Marco at the time is HUBZone, 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 HUBZone. Is that still the big play? HUBZone, 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 or has that evolved? And kind of what is the play there? Because I think a lot of people don't grasp what a HUBZone is, how it's important, why it's important for your clientele, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So the HUBZone is still, very much an important part of what we do and how strategic we are as far as where we actually locate our buildings. But for those viewers, listeners who don't know, a HUBZone is what's called a historically underutilized business district or business zone. And these are designations that the federal government has set up. They've identified certain areas, neighborhoods throughout the country that are economically disadvantaged, that they feel need more stimulation as far as economic activity goes. So if you, for example, want to bid on government contracts or do work with the government, they will give you certain incentives if you locate a certain percentage of your operations within one of those zones. And the program is administered by the Small Business Administration. So at the time when InQ Hub opened in Portsmouth in 2019, our founder and co-owner, Marco Frigel, was also managing a consulting company that he'd started a couple of years earlier, and he was doing a lot of that government work. So it was really important to him for his business to be located in one of those hub zones so he could take advantage of some of those programs. And so you can go to the SBA website, by the way, and you can see a map and you can see where all these different hub zones are throughout the country. So our Portsmouth location is right in the middle of the hub zone. And initially, Zach, you're right. That was one of the selling points because obviously here in Hampton Roads, we have a lot of businesses that do work with the government, right? It's a huge presence here. And so to be able to offer affordable, competitively priced office space in one of those hub zones is really attractive for a lot of our businesses here. So that's really kind of how the hub zone thing got started. So actually the InQ Hub stands for a business incubator in a hub zone. And we had many of our businesses join for that hub zone designation. They got an office because they needed to be located in one of those areas for the type of work that they did. And that continues to this day. It is not as big of a component of who we are or how we market ourselves as it was back then, for the very simple reason that we're much larger now. And our business community is much broader, deeper, and more diverse than it was when we started. So, we still have a lot of businesses who really like to take advantage of the opportunities that come with being in a hub zone. A lot of our businesses don't do any kind of work where that would matter for them, right? But it's still part of who we are. We still have a lot of businesses who do locate, get an office in our building because of that hub zone designation. Our Hampton location is also in a hub zone, and our new Newport News location, which we'll be talking about, will also be in a hub zone. So that will always be an important part of the model of the InQ Hub.
So you have a Newport News location getting ready to launch.
So
what I hear.
Maybe it's a good time to talk about that. Surprise.
Balloons coming down.
Yeah, right. So fast forward. So 2019, we opened with a very small footprint in Portsmouth, and we tripled that footprint in 2021, 2022 because we grew so quickly. And then fast forward to 23, 24, we acquired and opened a second InQ Hub location in downtown Hampton. That location had its grand opening in January 2024, and within a year, the building had reached 100% capacity. So we took what was virtually an empty office building. I think at the time we had one tenant when we bought the building, and we filled up the building within 1 year, grew it from just a handful of businesses to almost 90 businesses that we have there today. And so there's clearly a lot of demand in the region for what we do and the type of model and community we have. And when we opened Hampton, a lot of people on the peninsula in particular were really interested in what we do. And we got a lot of feedback that, hey, Hampton's great, but I'm in Newport News, or I'm even closer to Newport News, right? And you guys should really look at opening a location in Newport News. So we started actively looking at property in Newport News. And the more we got to know people in the city, whether it be from the business community, the political leadership, just kind of understanding how the community worked and the culture, we said, you know what, this is a great idea. Like, Newport News would be a great place to be. So we started looking at property, and we started working with the Redevelopment and Housing Authority on a property they owned in downtown Newport News that at the time was sitting empty, and they needed someone to come in and make good use out of it. So at the end of the day, we ended up acquiring that property. It's at 115 28th Street in downtown Newport News, which is located, for those not familiar with the neighborhood, it's right across the street from the large Superblock Park. It's about 2 blocks from City Hall. It's about 4 blocks from the Yard District, where they have the wonderful Ironclad Distillery, Coastal Fermentory, great pizza place, gastropub, Corkscrews and Brews, or a wine and coffee bar, all kinds of cool stuff. So we're right in that part of the city. So we closed on that building in November of last year, and we have been furiously working on renovating the building, getting it to be ready for occupancy and to really shine and be a great place where our business owners want to come work. And we're planning on opening that building probably within the next 2 months. So I don't have an exact opening date yet, but we're getting much closer, and we'll certainly be sharing more about that as the time approaches. But we're really excited about it. The feedback from the Newport News community has been overwhelming, both from the political community, who are really eager to have us there, but also from the business community, and in particular, our small business owners, entrepreneurs in our region, who really make up the core of our membership and what we do. So we're really excited to be able to serve the Newport News community very soon.
The atmosphere of a co-working space and an incubator, an IncuHub, if you will, is nothing new to this region. But you guys seeing the capacity at what you're seeing, I think, is unique to the region. What the hell is working that is getting you guys success where so many others are, I don't want to say struggling, because I don't know exactly, but struggling to hit? I mean, Hampton at capacity. I think Portsmouth, you said, was at capacity. It would seem like Newport News is probably going to hit that same threshold. So, like, what are you guys doing to hit that when others are not able to hit that? Because it's pretty rad to see.
Yeah, no, so first, thank you for that. We certainly agree, and yeah, it's
don't thank me. Thank your customers. Thank your customers for being there. I didn't do anything about it except give Marco that idea for mailboxes in 2019, which I still have yet to receive my 10% royalty check for. But it's okay. The clock is ticking. Thanks, Marco.
I will.
You knew I was going to bring that up at some point, Gene. I had to do it.
I did, but you know what? So if I could just say before I answer your question about the mailboxes, so it really is a great idea. So one of our services, for those who aren't aware, and it's very simple, it's very basic, but it's actually very impactful if you're an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur. And we offer a mailbox service, and what that includes is obviously a mailbox with the mail services. But that also allows you to use the IncuHub address, which becomes your official business address. So when people go to Google your business, there's a nice professional brick and mortar building, right? And for a lot of licensing and a lot of regulations, you're required to have a physical address that is outside of your home. So even though a lot of our business owners really don't need a place to come and work, they're working from home or they're out in the field doing their thing, they do need a place where they can get that address to register their business and for lots of other things. So that's one of our services, and it's incredibly popular. So thank you for that, Zach. But to answer your question, I think we have built something that's truly special, and I think there's a lot of reasons why it's been so popular with our members and with the business community in Hampton Roads. So first and foremost, we were founded and are owned by 2 small business owners. So Marco Frigo and his wife, Kristen. I mentioned Marco has a consulting company. Kristen does applied behavioral analysis. So she works with children and adult with developmental disabilities, has her own business, has been doing it for a long time. But the point is they're both small business owners. So in creating a space for small business owners, they know exactly what small business owners need to be successful because they've lived it and breathed it for each of them, for both for over 10 years now. So everything about how the space, the buildings, the community is set up with the mindset of a business owner. So the question that we always ask ourselves is, if we're going to do this, is this going to benefit a business owner? Is this going to be meaningful to them or not? And if it's not worth our time. So everything about what we do is done with that in mind. The other thing that I think has made us really effective and really popular is that we're a very flexible place for businesses to come to. And what I mean by that is, so all of our memberships are month to month, right? So if you are, for example, you're just starting a business, signing a 12-month office lease can be a very intimidating thing to do because honestly, you don't know if you're going to be in business 12 months from now. You hope you will. We hope you're going to do well, but there's a lot of uncertainty, right? So it can be very intimidating to lock yourself into a long-term contract, not really knowing if you're going to be able to pay for it 6 months down the road. So knowing that their membership is month to month gives a lot of security to our business owners. Say, okay, I can join, I can get my business started. If things go well, great. But if don't, I have an easy out and no hard feelings. We don't chase anyone down for money. What matters to us is that you're doing what's important to make your business successful. You pay one price, everything's included. So we don't nickel and dime. We don't have, you pay extra for coffee or you pay extra for this or that. You pay your one membership fee and you get to use conference rooms. We provide printing, coffee and tea. We do a lot of events, free events for our members throughout the year to let them get together and network both with each other and with stakeholders from outside in the community. We have a network of professional partners that are available to our businesses. So we have a CPA we work with who provides accounting services to our business. We have an attorney who can provide legal advice. So a lot of different things like that, just benefits that are, especially if you're new to business or if you're running a business all by yourself, you don't have time to worry about all that stuff. It's really beneficial. Lastly, and this might be the biggest part of all, we're not just a office building where people come to work. We truly are a community, and we're all about community. I started the conversation talking about this, but you can lock yourself in your home office and stay on your computer all day and make your phone calls and probably have a successful business, but there's so much more to be gotten out of being part of a community of other business owners. So at the end of the day, I don't care what kind of business you have. I don't care if you are in a logistics company or if you're an attorney or if you have a home healthcare company. A lot of the fundamentals of managing a business, the back office stuff are the same, right? You have to do accounting, you have to do taxes, you have to have insurance, you have payroll, right? You have legal things to think about. And by being a part of IncuHub, you are part of a community of business owners who have done all of those things. Not only have they done all of those things, they've probably made a lot of mistakes that they've learned from, but they're more than happy to share that experience with you. So you come into IncuHub as a new business owner, you've got plenty of seasoned professionals who are more than happy to talk to you and give you their advice. It's a great way to commiserate, share war stories, just go out and have a beer. So it's a great community. And while all of those fundamentals of running a business are really the same, with now over 260 businesses across both of our two existing locations, we have an incredible diversity in the types of businesses that we have. Every type of business you can think of is represented in some way or another at IncuHub. And what that means is if you're a member, you have a huge network of experts in all these different fields to tap into. And if you reach out to somebody, let's say you need marketing help. Well, we have marketing businesses who are IncuHub members, and they're happy to work with you. Knowing that a month or two down the road, they might need to tap into your area of expertise and they know you're going to return the favor. We call it return on collision. The idea being that you're maybe getting a cup of coffee, walking back to your office, you run into one of our other business owners, you start a conversation, and all of a sudden you're going out to lunch, you're going out to happy hour, you're comparing notes and stories about your businesses, seeing how you can help each other. That's really what it's all about. And I don't know that you can find that in just any co-working space or office building that you walk into. So I agree. It's a really special place. And I one of the reasons I love coming to work every day is being part of that community and seeing all of that develop between our business owners.
How many, is there a sweet spot in terms of businesses that you look for in terms of vertical, or are you just wide open?
We're wide open. The only requirement to be an IncuHub member is that you either have to own a business or be working toward owning a business. So maybe you haven't, registered your LLC, gotten your business license yet, but you need a place to come in and start putting all those pieces into place. You can come join us. But as far as the type of business, because of the type of space we have, there are certain limitations. So we really are, at the end of the day, a professional commercial office space. So for example, if you wanted to have a storefront where you can sell goods in a retail setting, we're probably not the best place for you. Although I will say we do have some members who do online retail business, and they do a great job. But generally speaking, we don't have any kind of requirements as far as the type of business that you operate. If it's a business, you're free to join. We have seen trends in certain types of businesses. We seem to have more of than others, not necessarily because of anything we're doing, just because of the dynamics of the region and the types of businesses that we have. So for example, particularly at our Portsmouth location, we have a lot of logistics companies, a lot of trucking companies, businesses that do work with the port, which of course makes sense because the Port of Virginia, one of its largest terminals is right in the middle of Portsmouth, right? We have a lot of healthcare agencies. We see a lot of that. We have a lot of attorneys, like I said, marketing, IT. We have a lot of business getting to the AI space now, which is kind of cool. But it's a little bit of everything. And again, that's what makes the community so much fun, is that if you need to know something, somebody in the IncuHub knows how to do it.
How did you decide on the location within Newport News? It's a 26-mile long city, as Zach and I know.
Yeah,
we
that's
ran
misleading.
top
That's
to
misleading. That's misleading. There is a little bit of an out and back at some point in there.
Okay, so it's 25.8 miles long. How did you decide north, middle, or the southern part of Newport News?
That's a great question, and so this was actually a tough one, Tim, because you're right. Newport News is quite large, and depending on the neighborhood you're in Newport News, it can be very different from other neighborhoods in Newport News. So when we first kind of took on this Newport News project, we looked all over the city. We looked at City Center. We looked in Denby. We looked, of course, downtown. And ultimately, a couple of factors on why we decided on the location where we're now going to be opening our doors very soon. First and foremost, very simply, it is in a hub zone. Not all the city of Newport News is in a hub zone, but there are certain sections on the neighborhood that we're going to be in is going to be in a hub zone. Second, there's already co-working spaces in existence in Newport News, and they're by and large located more up towards the city center region. So there's already some saturation in that part of the city for what we do. And we kind of wanted to kind of carve out our own little niche and kind of be in our own little unique place. Now, there are the offices of 25 and J, which are going to be right down the street from our location. They function a little differently from a traditional co-working space because of their relationship with the city and kind of some of the requirements around how they operate. But really, there's no one else like us in the part of Newport News that we're moving into. Thirdly, and this may be the most important of all, anyone who knows anything about Newport News or hears statements from city leadership, from the mayor, Philip Jones, from city council, there's a real emphasis on realizing the real potential that downtown Newport News has. Right now, I'll be honest, you walk around downtown Newport News, it's not the prettiest place. You've got the shipyard, and like I said, you've got some cool things that are starting to be developed, like the Yard District, like the Orthodox Church there on the river that they're going to be working on, like the park that's along the river. But up until now, downtown hasn't really gotten a lot of attention. That's changing. I think the city, combination of the city, the shipyard, the Navy has recognized that this is an area of Newport News that is really worth investing in. I mean, it has so much potential. It's got a beautiful waterfront. It already has that true urban feeling downtown core. So you can just walk up and down the streets and picture people walking up and down, shopping, going into restaurants. You feel like you're in a city when you're downtown. I think that's exciting to a lot of people. And so we saw all of this attention that was getting and all of the plans that all these different entities had for it. And we really want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of the story of revitalizing downtown, making it a place where people want to come, live, work, play, and grow. And so we're really excited. So just next door to us, what for years and years and years has been an empty parking lot, they're now breaking ground on a large multi-use apartment retail project. It's going to be right next to our building. And there's many other projects like that underway, either in the planning phases or breaking ground in downtown Newport News. So there's going to be so much activity happening there within the next 5 to 10 years. And we really wanted to get our foot in the door before it was too late, if you will. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah. For those who are curious, Newport News, top to bottom, 23 miles. Oh. And at its narrowest part is 3 miles wide. So it's an interesting shape of a city.
Just want to say I was right.
Oh, give me a break, Zach. Are you freaking kidding me right now, dude?
Tim was close.
I never put those two.
3 miles.
I never put those two together, to be honest.
Well, that was the whole point of the one city, was to be able to do a whole marathon in one city, to go from top to bottom.
All I can remember on that one day, freezing, March 1st, 2020, cold. Your greatest run of all time, is there was a time where I had to run down the street and then back down that same street, because I remember seeing a bunch of clothing that had been being picked up at that point. I guess people took off their...
Oh, yeah. That was at mile like 1.
Yeah, what do they call it? It was like jackets.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
That was Fort Eustis Boulevard. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I remember.
Yeah, that's a really short double back, but
about 3 miles.
No, and it's not. But Zach want to get spicy today.
I never put those two together. Actually, we probably talked about this during Gene's previous episode, 16 years ago. But there you go. Okay, Gene, in your free time, what are you into?
Wow. So feels like I don't have free time, but no, that's not true. I do. So a lot of different things. So I love to work out. So I typically try to run about 2 miles in the morning, and then I try to work out in the evening as well. Interestingly enough, that's something that in my 10 years ago I didn't care about as much, but I think as the older I get, the more I see the value in staying fit and staying healthy. This region is beautiful. I fortunate to live in Old Town Portsmouth, so I can run up and down the waterfront every morning, and it's usually right around sunrise. It's absolutely beautiful, so I love doing that. I play the piano, so I've always been someone who's enjoyed music, all kinds of music. But in addition to being a consumer of music, a listener to music, I also make it. So I started playing the piano when I was 8 years old. I took lessons, and I've always had this thing, and Marco and I joke about this. I really don't like being told what to do. So having the piano teacher tell me how to play, I was like, I don't like this. So I stopped lessons, and I kind of taught myself for a while. And I played through high school, played regularly at school. I played for churches, and it's something that kind of stuck with me. So I don't play in any kind of public setting now, but I do have a piano at home. And especially when you've had a stressful day, just need to relax, just sitting down and playing the piano is a great way to release some of that stress. I love getting out.
Hold on.
I was expecting Gene was going to be practicing who the presidents were in order.
That sounds ridiculous. Okay. You got George.
John.
So down at the old on Airline Boulevard, there's this place where they have open mic night. I bet you could bring in your piano and do a little public setting of the keys up in that joint, and people can
really
cheer or boo you. So over at the Rivers
Rivers
Casino, I might actually show up and hear you just to see the booze. So if you do, let the world know, because we want to hear.
I will. I will.
You don't like people telling you what to do. Well, what if they boo you off stage because your mom was the only one who said you were good at singing, like my mom did?
I mean, you know what? I always believe my mom, but you know what? There might be something to that, Zach. But yeah, that actually sounds like fun. I might have to check that out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
I didn't know they had such a thing.
Gene Granger in action tonight. The piano.
That's right.
I think it actually is tonight.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay.
I think, maybe a slower night. People aren't gambling as much on a Wednesday night.
You'd be surprised.
It's true.
Yeah.
You gotta go Wednesday because Tuesday didn't go well. You gotta go Tuesday because Monday was a monstrosity of a loss. The weekend was just absolutely horrendous. Of course, you gotta go Friday because it's $2 glizzy night. Thursday, ice cream social night. I made that up, but there's a lot of opportunities there. You guys still have a ping pong table. Are you the best ping pong player in that building? What's going on in that? Because you don't seem like you would be good at that.
So you're very perceptive, Zach. I'm terrible at ping pong. So when we first opened InQ Hub, we actually did have a ping pong table. It was cool. We had a little ping pong table. We had a little bar area set up. We had a dartboard. We still have the dartboard, incidentally. But we've since turned that area into a conference room, and it's a really nice conference room now. It's one of our larger conference rooms. We found that while it's cool to have a place for people to have fun, really at the end of the day, our members want to just come here and get their work done. And a lot of us still kind of get to know each other on a social basis and might go out for happy hour, things like that. But I do not play ping pong. You do not want me to play ping pong. It is a terrifying sight. Now, Marco, our owner, is a great ping pong player. And in fact, he played when he was growing up in Germany and won all these competitions and all these trophies. And his trophies are still here at InQ Hub today. So he's your guy if you want to play ping pong. I am not. I would be happy to narrate the game on the piano while you guys play each other.
Would love to know who made the decision to remove said ping pong table and bar, but keep darts. You would think that the bar would be the thing that you would keep. A little disappointed there, but it's okay. It's 2026. We're in a different world at this point.
Was it like real dart, metal tip dart, or plastic tip dart?
Oh yeah. The real deal.
Wow. How about
that? Are you any good at darts, Tim? You look like you would be a tremendous dart.
Yeah, I like if you go to a bar, a little watering hole, if they have darts, I don't mind throwing some. It's fun. I wouldn't say I'm great.
Growing up, my dad bought one. He had the shutters too. Whatever. The doors.
Wow.
We would write it. We played this game 20, I think. I'm a kid. I'm thinking it's cool. We're playing darts. He was decent, at least back in the day.
Is that cricket? Is that considered cricket?
No, I believe cricket is a game in India.
No, but I think that's from a dart standpoint. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, there's a game within the game of.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen? This is important. Darts has gotten so big that they will sell out arenas, and they will come out to popular songs, and people will just
no way.
WWF.
For real?
It's so funny. Yeah.
Well, that's a big. I didn't know that was a big thing that's going on right now with Morgan Wallen. Him picking the person to walk out with, and so the big thing is he's playing Alabama. Will him being a Tennessee boy, is he going to walk out with Nick Saban? Yeah, who knows?
Of course. I'm not sure. What do you think about all this, Gene? Is that what the InQ Hub's going to become? You guys going to have your little arena? You going to get the darts going back? You guys going to is Newport News going to face Hampton? Hampton going to face Portsmouth? A little round robin, if you will. Then you guys are going to open your fourth location on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. First business there.
Dude, I think if you added curling, that would be really dope.
Well,
curling takes a lot of ice. You have people don't realize you cannot Because if you watch curling, the amount of arena that they have to use for that, I don't think you could actually you can't take over a ice hockey rink because you're constantly changing something to do with the ice. There's something in it that the way that the stones move.
Yeah, they put like gravel or some like not gravel, but like ice bead stuff. That's what you sweep away, I guess. I don't know. But that would be cool. That would be market. Everybody would be talking about that. Or maybe you go axe, throw some axes. Go upgrade from darts to axes.
People can die that way. No.
You ever go axe throwing?
I have never been axe throwing. I also think that would be a very bad idea. I even get worried about people playing darts. Like when you're in a bar and someone's had way too much and they're trying to like throw the dart and they're like, and you're like, okay, I'm staying out of his way, right? So so axe throwing, I don't think so.
Well, and it's one of those. I always question that as a business. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Once you do it once, you're like, okay, I did it. I don't need to do it again.
Exactly.
But,
unless you're really good at it, and then you realize that, or you could just go to the store and buy your own piece of wood and your old tomahawk chop and just.
The thing that's scary though, man, when that bounces off the wall, it doesn't hit right and comes back at you. That's you jump pretty quick out of the way.
Oh, so you've done this before, Tim. You are an axe thrower. You are
one time. Yeah.
Was it at what's his name's?
No. But it was in Newport News. It was the other side of Newport News in the Denby area.
Okay.
Gene, are you taking reservations? You taking resis for new office space in Newport News?
We are. So we actually, that's a great question. We already have a list of people who are aware that we're going to be opening and who are very interested in having space in our Newport News location. So we're really excited about that. But if anyone is interested in joining our Newport News location, whether it be, and by the way, we don't just offer office space, we also offer a lot of flexible co-working options. So we have shared desks available. We have dedicated desks available. We're also going to try out a new concept called a shared office concept. So you can basically rent an office where you can go in and close the door and use maybe a couple days a week or even a couple hours a week if being in the co-working environment out in the open with desks with other people is maybe not ideal for you. So all of those options are available in addition to the mailboxes. But if people are interested in getting on the list for the space, we're going to be doing tours as soon as we can. We have the building ready to bring people in to show it to them. And that'll be probably coming up here very soon. What people can do is they can send an email to info@theincuhub.com, or they can give us a call at 757-317-2002. Just let us know they want to be put on the Newport News list. We'll be sending out updates that'll kind of let people know about our progress toward opening, and as well as the option to come to the building for tours, check out the space, and kind of see what might be a good fit for them. So, we encourage anyone who's interested in being a member of our Newport News location to reach out. We'd be very happy to talk to them.
Are you going to be the MD there?
Yes. So I will continue to kind of oversee the operations of all of our locations throughout the region. We also have some part-time staff who will be working with us. We have some interns who are working with us to kind of help support the operations. But I will continue to oversee all locations.
And soon, this is what IncuHub's dart tournament is going to look like right here. Walking out to the big thing. This guy, he's saying, "Let me hear you. Let me hear you sing, Gene. Let me hear you go."
I love that. I love that.
That's sponsored by Fireball. How about that?
Well, I mean, that sounds like the old launch pad. They got signs and everything. They're like, "Come on, let's go."
Man.
Well, that's it. Hopefully it goes well for that group of individuals, the IncuHub.
Well, hopefully you have someone assembling all that equipment for you, Gene. Unless you're like your other big skill set is an IKEA desk maker of sorts. That'd be a lot of work.
No, yeah. So no, we try to get furniture that's already assembled as much as we can. So, and that's actually one of the nice things about joining IncuHub is when you get an office, it comes with furniture. So you get a desk, you get
but who's going to put that together? You guys, you can't get that stuff upstairs.
It depends. So actually, our co-owner and our co-founder, Kristen Fragel, very good at assembling these things very quickly. When I look at something, I see 552 pieces all over the floor and a 12-page instruction manual. I just turn around and walk out of the room. But she's very patient. She's very good at going through the steps and getting it all together and looking nice. So we are very thankful for that and many other reasons to have her on our team. But it is an undertaking. It is a team effort, but it really is a labor of love because we're really excited about opening our new location and all the benefits it's going to bring to the community.
Shout out to Kristen and all of the assemblers of furniture that is nonsense. I put together a table recently. You know, they say easy to put this thing together. I'm going to have to say no, that is not true. The amount of parts that came in this thing, 1,375, not an exaggeration, for a, 18-inch table, a little nonsense. You know, you got to, it was ridiculous.
It's a lot of work.
Looks nice, but...
Easy do-it-yourself instructions, right? And I love when they have the instruction manuals that just have the pictures. And you're like, you're supposed to look at the picture and know exactly what it's telling you to do. And I'm like, I'm not seeing how this connects. I guess
I'm
somebody
just
can
glad they label
out,
each set of screws. Like this is A, this is BB, this is C, this is AA.
Dude, the amount of engineering that goes into like just coming up with the blueprints of that stuff is ridiculous.
My wife says the reason it had so many parts was to ship it. That very well may be the case, but whoever manufactured that, came up with that concept, I'd like for you to go back to the drawing board.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you've put together said office, about to be third time.
Just a few, yep.
What's the parking situation there?
So we're still working on what that's going to look like. I think anyone who's familiar with downtown Newport News, parking is a challenge, right? Obviously, you have the shipyard there with the thousands of employees they bring in every day. You've got City Hall with all the city employees coming in. So there's a lot of parking needs. So we are fortunate that our building does have some parking with it that's going to be adjacent to the building. And we're currently working with the city and some other stakeholders to identify some other parking options that are going to be adjacent to our building. So at the end of the day, we will have parking for our businesses, whether it be to come in and park in all day to use their offices, come in, work at their desk, come in, check their mail, come to use a conference room, come for an events. We're still ironing out the details and what exactly that's going to look like. But that's definitely something that's going to be available.
Well, one thing that's super cool, you should have I would assume they have it at all the Bennies. And what's the Bennies challenge?
Is that what the pizza place is that he was talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Well, what's the Bennies challenge?
It used to be eat the whole pizza, in an hour or so, and you get $500. That's a lot. That's a lot of pizza. I can't do it.
Those pizzas are huge. They're so good.
They're 8 inches.
Enormous. We could
like
we
6
could have
jeans.
At least I think it's more like 8 or 9. Eat a whole Benny's pizza, get a free parking spot at Inky Hub.
Dude, I would love to see that, man. We need to broadcast. We'll do a live Fervent Four broadcast from there because
people who cannot participate in this, Kobayashi, Joey Chestnut.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Sonny the Black Widow Thomas. No.
Yeah, those pizzas.
And Scott Janae, just because he might be able to win it, and we don't need to give him free parking.
I can't even eat 2 slices.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
You'd be real tired after 2 slices. There's something in that. There's grease in that.
And thirsty.
Do you have to have a topping on it too? A topping? I mean,
is that part of the deal?
Probably. They probably make you put a topping on there to make it more difficult. So you got to do 16 pounds of pepperoni. I mean, and it's thick pepperoni. It ain't these little you got the big ones. I mean,
Gene, do you hit up Benny's?
I've been there and the pizza is delicious. I cannot. I'm like you. Like I 2 slices. I'm good. Like I don't need to eat anything the rest of the day.
Like we said, that's 16 jeans though. I mean, that's a lot of.
Like if I ate a whole one of their pizzas, I might have to go to the hospital. Like it might become
shout out to the hospital for that.
And that's why I bring it up. A lot of people are like, just out of just muscle memory, I have 2 slices and a drink, and it's just like, dude, you do 2 slices grab yourself a drinky drink.
That's really
You in
3/4 of a Domino's 14-inch pizza.
Yeah.
And I'm calling in sick the next day to work too, type of deal, So note to self, if you're trying not to go to work the next day, go to Benny's, get a 2-4, get yourself a little, Dr. Brown's cream soda.
Well,
Yeah,
kudos
or
on you
the
guys.
advantage. The advantage is if you're having like an office pizza party or something, you call Domino's or Papa John's, you got to get like 10 pies. Call Benny's, just need one. Just
That's
one.
right. Just
cut
slice that up into, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to do that at the old Hatch HQ. Yeah, let me get a Benny's, cut that sucker up in squares. Get 1,600 slices out of that. 4 jeans. It was perfect.
Yeah, at least.
But kudos on you guys. I mean, you guys set up shop in Newport News where the puck is going. Yeah, I mean, like they're putting a lot of money in redeveloping, and there's a whole new life that's being set up in downtown. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so many exciting things are going to be happening in that neighborhood. It's like I said, it's already starting. We're really looking forward not only to watching all of the progress unfold, but to really being a part of it and really contributing to the kind of growth that I think that part of the city has needed for so long. So yeah, it's really exciting, and we're really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, going down there on a Friday night, and there's a lot going on down there, which is I don't think you could ever say before.
Gene, you attended back in August of 2025 the second Start World Cup Virginia qualifier. It was a circus of a night, if you will. What's one thing that you're looking forward to seeing in 2026 at this year's version, which will be in September at the Sandler again, packed house? What's something that maybe no one's talking about, but you'd like to see on stage that evening?
So I have to say,
eating contest?
Dude,
that's an idea. So I have to say, I've been to now 2 of your Startup World Cups. I went to the first one you had in 24. Great event. You outdid yourselves big time with the one last year. It was incredible, very well put together, very exciting, ton of energy. Had a great time. It was great seeing all the different businesses there giving their pitch. I have no doubt it's going to be incredible this year as well. I think it would be really cool is if you guys had an axe throwing competition on stage.
I don't think, and that is one of the disclaimers insurance has. There's no axe throwing.
And no axe throwing. Okay.
But I like the idea. We just can have Scott Genet. It's like, hey, dude, we got a deal for you, Scott. We're going to have you on stage the entire time since you weren't on stage enough last time. Now you're going to be on stage the whole time, and you got to eat this entire Benny's pizza.
Ooh, and if you do, you get a free parking space at the HUBZone Newport News. People should expect the unexpected at this year's Cup. It's going to be quite interesting. A lot is percolating up in the old domes of Mr. Ryan and Mr. Miller and several others. So, as they say, buyer beware, because you never know what you're getting into. And obviously, the winner shot at $1 million. That's pretty cool. Gary Warren.
That's awesome.
Get his trophy to him. Maybe we should make that a real thing that night, Maybe we could have a battle between Gary and someone else for the trophy, and we could put like a new sticker on it, a little Post-it note. Who knows? But as we're talking about food, it's one of Tim's favorite things.
Well, I was 2 years ago. Did we ask you the food question, Gene? I don't remember.
We did talk about food. We did. And so I'm a steak guy. I love seafood. That's one of the great things about this region. Is you can get both of those and really enjoy them. But yes, we did. We had this conversation.
Okay.
You're holding firm on the answer.
Absolutely. I know what I like. I'm not getting any younger. So I'm the more older I get, the more stubborn I get. Like, this is what I like. Nothing else. No. Kidding.
Gene is a man of steak, seafood, 2-mile runs in the morning, watching the sun rise, a little bit of axe throwing, and finding people ways to get parking at the new EQ Hub in Newport News, opening soon. Gene Granger, it's been an absolute delight to have you back on the show. 100 episodes or more since the first time.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time. Any final words?
I don't think so, except to say that it's always great to see you both. It's been great to be with you guys as well. Really love all the work you guys are doing in the region. And if I can, I'll just close with one more thing if I can. So
he said he had nothing to say, and now has said 3 things. I mean, which one is it, Gene? Come on, buddy.
Right. So Tim mentioned something earlier. So when I was a kid, I could actually name all of the U.S. presidents in order, and that's kind of cool. The only reason I could do that is because my older brother could do that, and I had to be better than him, so I had to learn how to do that too, right? But it just kind of makes me think about, one of the great things about this region, the food, but also the fact that there's so much history here, right? Including so many U.S. presidents have more connections to Virginia than people think that they do. There's the obvious ones, right? Like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, but even like,
James Madison,
John Tyler, William Henry Harrison, Woodrow Wilson, even all have ties to Virginia. So the history here is tremendous. And I only say that because we're in a really special time with the America's 250th celebration. And really, Hampton Roads is really the epicenter of that, because this is where our story started. It's a great region to be in. We have so many assets, so many things going for us, including our history and how far we've come as a region, as a community. And so, IncuHub is thrilled to be a part of this community. This is our home. This is our family. We love it here. And we're so excited to be growing with Hampton Roads and being able to give back in the way that we have. We're going to keep doing that. You mentioned a 4th location. There will be a 4th location. I don't know where yet, but it will happen. So Hampton Roads has been great to us, and in turn, we give back to the region as much as we can.
Wait. Are you alluding to the fact that you can do all presidents, top to bottom, start to finish? Because we need to hear this. And
I don't know that I still can. That's the problem. This was when I was in like 3rd grade.
I got the list pulled up.
No, I'm not going to cheat.
No. You open a door, and we're definitely going to keep walking through it. All right, Gene, why don't you start? I'll give you the first one. He may or may not like cherry trees or apple trees.
George, you guys really want me to?
Yeah.
We'll give it a try. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford Hayes, James Garfield, Chester Arthur. This is where I tend to get stuck. Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison. Then we had Grover Cleveland again. He's the only one who served 2 non-consecutive terms. Well, now Trump is the second one to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Grover Cleveland, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. How'd I do?
Okay. You did pretty darn good. I'd like to give you some big time kudos. Somewhere in there, I think you missed a Benjamin Harrison.
I got him between he was between the Grover Clevelands.
Okay. Well, somewhere in there, I think I'll have to fact check this myself, but you did something.
That's all right.
Hayes, all right. Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland again.
It's
McKinley,
been
Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson. You might have gotten it right. I just might not be able to read. Congratulations.
I mean, color me impressed.
That's right.
No matter what.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
especially he was getting first names in there too. I'm like, wow.
Man,
dude, I don't even know who the second president was.
Well, he was from Massachusetts, so
John Adams.
He's not important. That's right.
Then we got a TJ.
That's right.
Then we got a Madison, a Monroe. Congrats, Gene. Good job, man.
Dude, that was impressive.
Go to Colonial Williamsburg, get yourself one of those wigs, and you could be the guy who recites the old days.
That would be. I could be one of the actors there. That'd be a lot of fun, actually. So maybe if I ever decide to pick up a side gig, that might be what I have to do.
There you go. Make it happen. Gene, appreciate your time. This has been absolutely delightful. Congratulations on your wonderful knowledge of
Oh,
all 47 presidents.
hey, and probably absolutely worthless knowledge, right? But someone's got to have a
No,
hobby. So
we clipping that, baby. We clipping it.
Oh, that's going to be a big one. Oh, yeah. Peace, brother.